Liroshalaim Berachamim Tashus Ishkain B'Saycha V'Ishkain B'Saycha Asher Dibata La 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 Okay. Shlomo is back. Welcome. Take a look. Page 123. Okay. Were you away?
I don't remember the last time I saw
Yeah?
I was probably hibernating.
You were hibernating in the middle of summer.
I've been hibernating. Yeah.
I'm telling you, you might want to do a sociological study, an anthropological study right here, you know. we have creatures that hibernate in summer.
I'm taking notes.
Here's a maple syrup farmer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. That's sweet.
Welcome.
No, I'm free man. I finished school this week.
You finished school. You passed?
Doesn't really matter. I'm not going back next year.
It matters. Okay. So, these are teachings that Reb Shlomo gave when he was doing weddings. Okay? And we're in the middle of page 123, P'tichat HaSharim. So now he's talking to the Chatan, and in this particular point of the ceremony, he just sort of finished putting the veil over the bride's face, and the Chatan is about to go to the chuppah. Okay? So he says to him like this. He says, he's actually talking to the Kala. Her name is Michal. אני מברך אותך לפתוח שערי שמיים למען כל ישראל. I'm blessing you to open the gates of heaven for all of Israel. את כעת ממש עומדת. She said what she's going to do. You want to pass her a book?
She do what she says.
Huh?
She did what she
Oh,
says.
she did what she said, right.
Then I even found somewhere to get my cube, some snow, so I don't have to leave her.
Yeah? Okay, good. So, page 123, okay? Again, מיכל, אני מברך אותך לפתוח שערי שמיים למען כל ישראל. I'm blessing you to open the gates of heaven for all of Israel. את כעת ממש עומדת על יד שער השמיים. You are Mamish, you are literally standing now at the gate, right next to the gate of heaven. וריבונו של עולם פותח לשניכם שערי שמיים. And God is opening the gates of heaven for both of you, for you and your groom. So they're still holding by, they're still at the ceremony of putting on the veil on the bride's face. כשיעקב כיסה את פנייך, when Yaakov is the name of the groom here, when he covered your face, hu בעצם אמר לך, he basically was saying to you, אני, symbolically, אני יודע שאת קצת יותר קרובה לשערי שמיים ממני. I know that you're somewhat closer to the gates of heaven than I am. השאירי את השער פתוח. Please leave the gate open when you go in. אל תתני לו להיסגר, don't let it close. Okay, besides sounding poetic and everything, let's see what this means. Okay, so he explains. יש אנשים שמתפקדים, שמתדפקים שנים רבות על השער. There are people who are knocking on the gates, on heaven's gates, for many, many years. ובורא עולם עדיין צריך לפתוח להם, and God still has to open the gates for them. But now that you're going to your wedding ceremony, the gates are open for you. So יהי רצון חתן קדוש שתפתח הלילה את השערים למען כל ישראל. So may it be God's will, holy Chatan, holy groom, that tonight you should open up all the gates for all of Israel. Gam le'ele shekvar hitiashu, even for those who've already despaired of ever getting the gates open. Kala kedosha, holy Kala, kishat omedet al yad sha'ar ha'patuach, when you're standing next to the open gate, titchafi et hadelet b'choska shelo tisager chalila, push the door wide open with your strength, so that it shouldn't, God forbid, be shut. Okay, so we can take this on a few levels. Basically, we say in the prayers every day, we say that, L'shem yichud kudshe brichu shchinte, right? Liachtar shem yitke v'vavke yichud l'shem, l'shem kol Yisrael. That when we're praying, we have to know that we're praying not just for ourselves, we're praying for all of Israel. Okay? And in fact, if somebody's praying just for themselves, it's not what it's about. In other words, if you really want your prayers to be received, and you have to pray in the name of all of Israel. That's why the Amidah prayer is always in the plural form, right? We say, Rifa'enu, heal us, right? Barech Aleinu, provide us. You have to pray in the name of all of Israel. If, imagine a child comes to his mother or to his father, he says, just give it to me. I don't care about my brothers and sisters, right? I just want it, right? So then the parent, like what? What are you talking about? We're a family. You have brothers and you have sisters. We're responsible for each other, right? You don't even want to hear, like, Mommy, give me all the ice cream, right? Don't give it to anybody else. It's ridiculous. So we have to know that like we've been learning in the Tanya in the morning, we've been learning Sha'ar Yichud ve'emunah. And the Zohar says that when you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that this is Yehuda Ilah, this is supernal unification. When you say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto L'Olam Va'ed, it's Yehuda Tata'ah, it's unification from here below. Just to put it in simple words, or from a different angle, okay? When you say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that's like saying, God, I'm ready to die for you. Right? Because in fact, like, when Rabbi Akiva was killed by the Romans, the last words that he was saying were Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. So there's somebody at the door, please. It's okay. It's Rabbi Yonah. He knows that he came in. Okay. And he died when his soul left his body when he said the word Echad, right? So like the whole thing of Shema Yisrael is all about the acceptance, our acceptance of the oneness of God, and that we're ready to give our lives for our faith, right? And when you say Baruch Shem Kibod Machoto L'Olam Va'ed, what you're saying is, I'm ready to live for you, God. Understand? In other words, I'm ready to live the truth of your unity. I'm not just ready to die for the truth of your unity, I'm ready to live the truth of your unity. Which is, in a certain sense, maybe even harder. I don't know. Maybe not, I don't know. But to live the truth of Hashem's unity, so what does that mean, you're living the truth of Hashem's unity? What is that supposed to mean? So in the context of what we're talking about right now, to live the truth of God's unity is that you are concerned about all your brothers and sisters, just as you are about yourself. Okay? Going even further, you're concerned about the whole universe, etc. But more specifically, more immediate, is that you are praying on behalf of all of Israel. When you're studying Torah, it has to be on the Shem Kol Yisrael. It has to be on behalf of all of Israel. That means to say, and understand this, okay? This is a very, very big issue. And I've mentioned the story already a few times, that one day the sons of Rebbe came into the Beit Midrash, into the study hall, and there was a person sitting there and studying, and he was very, very happy. So the rabbi said to him, why are you so happy? He says, I just learned 10, 15 pages of Talmud. It was great. So the rabbi said to him, if you learned in the name of all of Israel, then I'm happy too, because I have a part of it. But if you didn't do it in the name of all of Israel, I'm not interested in what you did. Right? Okay? So the idea is that whatever we're doing, we have to realize we're responsible for ourselves and we're responsible for all of Israel. Okay? Now, you know that presently, besides the immediate problem that we're facing with the 3 kidnapped boys, okay, which has done a lot to sort of bring more unity among the people, not that long ago, and for the last few years already, but there's a lot of discord and in some circles even, God forbid, animosity towards the Haredi community, towards the ultra-Orthodox community. And I'm not talking about right, wrong, this and that, not going into that at all. But one fact is that those who are sitting and studying Torah all the time have to make sure that the people who are supporting them, and in this case the government, in this case the whole country, okay, that all the other people should feel that they're part of it, that they have some kind of a benefit from it. If somebody is providing you, like for example, I imagine that you've got some kind of grant to do your work, right? You're not paying out of your own pockets, right? So, but you're expected to contribute something. You're expected to write something. You're expected to contribute something so that those who are providing the scholarship should feel that they're getting something from what you're doing. Understand? If you were to apply to get a grant for something and the people say, well, what am I going to get from it? And you say nothing. You're going to get olam haba, you're going to get rewarded in heaven. you're going to say, find somebody else to support you, right? Now, if somebody believes in it that way, then they'll be happy with it. That the fact that like Yisachar and Zebulun, right, two of Yaakov's children, they're like the role models that Yisachar would be studying, and Zebulun was the businessman, and it's brought down that that if you're supporting someone who's studying Torah, so then you share their reward. You understand the reward that they're getting for studying Torah is 50% yours, okay? But that's only but even so, people who are sitting and learning have a responsibility to make sure that the people that are in the rest of the community, whether they're supporting them or whether they're not supporting them, that they are actually contributing to their well-being in some ways that they could relate to. Okay? And that's what I mean by living the oneness of Hashem. In other words, if you're living the oneness of Hashem, if you're living the truth of God's oneness in this world, that means that when you're walking down the street, people passing by you should be able to sense that, I'm part of it. They say that when the Belzer Rebbe used to walk on the street back in Europe, that the Gentiles would stop and they would just stand at attention until he was out of sight. Like he was so holy, people, like everybody just felt like, wow, this is a holy man. And it's not just that they felt this is a holy man because so great, this is a holy man. That means that they themselves were inspired by his presence, right? In Chassidus, the concept of cont'd, honor. So the Friedrich Rebbe says in the Maimer, what is your greatest honor? What is your real honor? Your real honor is that people when they're in your presence, they feel elevated. Okay? That when people are in your aura, they feel uplifted. They feel that they too are special. Okay? I told you the story that once Reb Shlomo was being interviewed on this radio show in Germany, and the interviewer said to him this question, and she says to him, and there was a time that radio used to be very, very popular, like people used to have these radios that were like, you still have one back in the townships? Like, they sat on the floor like a whole piece of furniture. You've seen them?
I've seen them.
You've seen them. It was like I remember, like, there was like shows on the radio, like the whole family would gather around before television. Like the whole family would gather around to listen to this mystery show, or comedy show or whatever it is. It was like this thing. It was like at least as popular as television before television came, Anyway, so the interviewer says to him, and this is the early 60s, she says that Hitler Yamach Shemoy said that the Aryan race was the superior race, and you Jews say every day in a blessing, thank you God that you've chosen us from among all the nations. That's a knock at the door. Okay, she says, I should wait for them, right? Let's see who an angel knocks so loud. That was a knock on the door, like, man, can I know how to... Welcome. Maybe there's another phone. Okay. Foley, we're waiting for you.
Your knock at the door is because of this generation. The generation ago, you see, this generation, women expect to be equal as man. So if a man would knock at the door, he'd give a bash.
No. She knows what we're learning here. That Shlomo was saying, open the gates. He's telling the Kala, open the gates.
I was feeling it.
Right? You see? You're psychic. Anyway, so she says to Shlomo, she says, so what's the difference between you saying, thanking God for choosing the Jewish people, right? That you're the chosen people, and Yimach Shlomo Hitler saying that the Aryans are the superior race. So listen to what Shlomo answered. Shlomo answered like this. He said that they're the superior race, and therefore they have the right to trample on anybody they wanted to trample and destroy. When we say that we're the chosen people, we understand that it's our role to help everybody realize how special they are too. You understand? We're chosen to make understand. So if you feel special that you go to shul and you put on tefillin and that you pray and that you're learning Torah and that you're learning mitzvot, you have to understand that to live the truth of the oneness of God means that you will now share this and make other people realize that they are special, that this is really special. Okay, and the policy of the Lubavitch Rebbe was that in Chabad and Lubavitch, when people get married, they generally stay and continue studies for another year, maybe 2. But after 2 years, like the Rebbe's policy was, you even though you're obligated to learn the whole Torah, and you didn't learn the whole Torah yet, you're going out there into the world and become a teacher, become a rabbi, but you've got to go out there and do something for the rest of the community, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of Jewish kids who don't even know the Aleph Bet. Right? So you have to give up your own for somebody else. That's
What would be a practical way? Before this thing you said about the community making everybody feel part of the studies and the sequence study all day. What would be like a practical way?
A practical way would be, and there are people that are doing it, but we need more people to do it. But a practical way would be, for example, that those who are sitting and studying, they can go and give classes at night. They can go and around in their community and see if there are kids who need help in studying. They can do something. They can, you understand? Don't be so insulated. Don't keep yourself so apart. Okay. Go visit the hospital. Sit with people. Share something that you learned.
Be more part of the community.
There's things to do. Yeah, like go and do something for the community. Don't. It's not just right. It's and also when you sit down to learn, when you're doing any mitzvah, say, I'm doing this in the name of all of Israel. It's not just me. I'm doing it as a representative on behalf of my people.
And this is done with a conscious effort.
In the siddur, you have that before Baruch Shema. Which siddur do you use? The Nusach Hari? So the Shem Yichud, for the sake of the unification of Kutsha Brichu and the Shechina, in the name of the Shem Kol Yisrael. So all you just have to say is B'Shem Kol Yisrael. I'm doing it in the name of all of Israel. Yeah. Okay.
It's kind of if you got the gift of connecting to Hashem, then you go and share.
It's not just that. It's not just that. It's really, and I'm going even further. It's really real. It's only real if you're actually sharing it with everybody and you're doing it on behalf of everybody. Yeah. In other words, you see. Look. The what's called Knesset Yisrael, the community of the souls of Israel. Okay, so let's say it's like a vessel, like this cup, right? Mm-hmm. Now, you want to receive holiness and spirituality from God, right? Mm-hmm. Now, suppose, for example, do you drink scotch? Whiskey, no?
Okay, I assume that.
Right? Now suppose, for example, somebody comes and says, I've got this bottle of Blue Label, it costs $200 a bottle, okay? And let me pour you a drink, okay? And if your cup has a hole in it, how much are you going to have? Nothing, right? So, if all the souls of Israel together make up this cup, okay? If you're leaving out one, the cup is not complete. It's like it has a hole in it. So you can't get what you would like to get because your vessel is not able to contain it. Okay? So it says that the Shekhinah will not dwell, the divine presence will not dwell in a vessel that is damaged. Okay? So we need to make a vessel that is whole. And that includes even our brothers and sisters who may have committed crimes and are sitting in jail. Because maybe they've done some things that are not right, but they're still Israel, they're still part of your people. Okay? So the vessel has to be whole. And to live the truth of the oneness of God means that you're living with that consciousness that we're all one.
But you need somebody to try to do your best to make them feel better.
Even just by saying good morning, how are you, in the proper way. Okay. So now he's telling the Chatan and the Kala, as you're about to enter into your marriage, right? The gates of heaven are being opened for you. What does that mean? In what sense are the gates of heaven being opened for the bride and groom? Well, basically, you are now entering into a new relationship, which is considered to be a part of the building of the future of the third temple, okay, of the Beit HaMikdash, okay, and the fact that God helped you find each other, and that you've met each other, and that you're actually going ahead and doing this, means that these gates are being opened for you. These gates are now being opened for you to enter into this new level of life. So he's saying to the Chosin and the Kala, he's saying, make sure that you don't shut the door behind you. Instead, make sure that the door stays open, because other people have been knocking on the door, and they want the door opened, right? See, it's like, okay. So other people have been knocking on the door and they haven't been answered yet. But since you're now going in through the gates, keep it open. Keep them open. Which is sort of like saying that there's this story with Reb Moshe Sassover, and there's a similar story with the Berditchever, that when he passed away and he was going up to heaven, he was up in heaven, so the angel said, welcome, you're going into heaven. And on the way, he was passing by hell, and he heard all this screaming and crying. So he says to the angels, what's this? They said, that's hell, So he says, I can't go into heaven without these people. What kind of heaven is it going to be for me if I know that there are brothers and sisters who are in hell? And they said, listen, don't mix into the way we do things over here, just please move forward. And he said, no, I'm not going. Anyway, so there was a big commotion in heaven, and there was a judgment, and it was ruled that for every favor that he ever did anybody during his lifetime, he could take one person out of hell. And they say that on that day, hell was emptied out, and he took all these souls with him into heaven. Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, once the I think the visioner said, or maybe it was the censor, I always mix them up. He said like this. He said, if you believe every Hasidic story, then you're a fool. But if you don't believe them, then you're an apicurus. Then you're a heretic. Okay.
That they could
You
have
like
been
that?
true.
You like the paradox? Good. Okay. Huh?
That they could have been true. They're not that they
That's
have been true. That they.
But if you don't believe that it could be true, then you're a heretic. Okay. Now, so what's the point? What's the point of the story? To this, Reb Shlomo emphasized that every time that you're doing a favor, it's like you're getting the right to save somebody from being in hell. Okay. And so Reb Shlomo is telling the Chatan and the Kala, says, God is opening the gates for you. Please, I'm begging you, don't let the gates shut. Other people have been knocking on those gates for a long time and haven't been answered yet. Make sure that since you're already going in, don't let the gates shut. Okay?
So what gate are we talking about? Is there one main gate or is there
Michal, when I'll be there and I'll come back, I'll tell you.
You gonna come back to the hospital?
No, I won't haunt you. I love you.
This is a serious question.
I didn't say that's not a serious question. I gave you a serious answer. I basically said to you, I don't know. Okay? Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Hopefully we will all experience it.
Yes. Hopefully it'll happen before we die, right?
Well, you can't have serious amazing while you're alive.
No, for somebody else.
Watching it happen is also experiencing it on some very deep level.
That's a trip.
Okay, page 124. Okay, so you got that point. You understand that, there's just to add another thing. The Gemara says that if you're praying for another person, somebody's not well, and you're praying for them, and the person who's praying for the other person, he too needs that. So his prayer will be answered first. In other words, let's say Yankel is praying for Reuven, who needs a refuah, but Yankel also needs a refuah, also needs a healing. So since he's praying for his friend, Hashem will answer his prayers first. Okay? So there's a Hasidic interpretation. V'hu tzarich l'oto davar. In other words, if you're praying for somebody else, let's say someone who needs a healing, and you're praying not just because it's the right thing to do, because like they asked you to pray for them, but you need them to be healed. You actually feel their need as if it was you yourself. That prayer gets answered first. Okay. So he's telling the Chosn and the Kala, God answered your prayers. You found each other. You're getting married. The gates are open for you. And basically, the gates basically means to say that you're going from one level to another level. Okay? Whether there's an actual gate or not, and so on, that's we speak human language, but basically we mean the ability to transition from one level to another level. So the gates have been open for you. Bring in as many people as you can with you. You ever see, like whenever someone would go somewhere, and a van would come to pick him up, or a cab would come to pick him up, The taxi driver would look around. All of a sudden, there's 20 people in the car. You know, what? We're coming with him. We're coming with him. You understand? Like he's opening the gates for us. We're going with him. There's this artist, an Israeli man, and he lives in Germany now. His name is I don't remember. I think maybe it's Reuven. Is his first name Schwarzkopf? And he was here, and he told me an interesting story. I think you may have met him, an elderly man. You met him here, and because he came to the Moshav at one of the fairs, and he was so excited when he saw our booth that we have a yeshiva named Dr. Shlomo. So he told me that he himself stopped being religious, and his children, his daughter was around 12 years old at the time, but he had questions and he didn't find a way to resolve them, and he decided that he's not going to be he's not going to be religious anymore. I think the rest of the family did stay religious. Anyway, and he had met Shlomo somewhere, and Shlomo was so excited to meet him, and so he told him that, my daughter's having a bat mitzvah. So Shlomo said, when, where? And without any invitation, whatever, all of a sudden Shlomo shows up with a whole band of the people from the Moshav, and they came in and they made a freiliche bat mitzvah. They played music, they sang, and he says, he'll never forget it. Like Shlomo knew, like this little 12-year-old girl was probably like confused about how am I going to celebrate my bat mitzvah when my father is stopping to be religious, and so on and so on. And Shlomo came with a whole band of people, but it was always I remember the few times I was there, they were always somebody always couldn't get in. It was always we could only put so many people into a van, and there was always a couple of people. But you went last time. I'm not getting out. I'm staying inside, So when the gates are being opened, go. Okay? When the gates are open for you, keep them open for everybody else. So Bria, what's on your mind? No? But you're welcome to speak whenever you want. Okay, Gava Hadadit. Mutual pride. חברים יקרים, מזל טוב. בשם כולנו אני רוצה לומר, on page 124. בשם כולנו אני רוצה לומר ליעקב ולמיכל כמה אנחנו גאים בכם. I want to tell everybody, I want to tell the Chosim Kale, in everyone's name, we're so proud of you. בפיוט ענין זמירות אנו אומרים פרו עליי ופרי עליו. So there's a song that we sing at the end of that is sung at the end of the prayers Shabbos morning. So one of the lines says there, Pero alai, his beauty, his pride is upon me, and my pride is upon him. Klomar, meaning to say, Gavatenu hi bo v'gavato hi banu. That is, we're sharing the pride, right? We're sharing our pride with them, with the Chatan and the Kala, and we're sharing, and we're receiving their pride. So he says, אני מברך את יעקב שכשם שהוא גאה באשתו כעת, כך יהיה גאה בכל ימי חייה. Blessing the Chatan, but just like you're proud of your bride now, you should be proud of her your entire lifetime. ואני מברך את מיכל שכשם שהיא גאה בבעלה כעת, כך תהיה גאה בו כל ימי חייה. And I'm blessing the holy bride, but just like you're proud of your husband now, you should be proud of him all your life. ואנחנו מברכים אתכם שתביאו ילדים לעולם שכל עם ישראל יהיה גאה בהם. And we bless you that you should bring children to the world, children that all of Israel will be proud of them. Okay, so it's very nice that he gave him this blessing, right? And it goes with what we were talking about, right? To be proud of another person, okay? So you know the story. If you know it, then you'll hear it again. If you don't know it, but I've mentioned it a few times. I met this school teacher from Los Angeles, the Lubavitcher Chassid. His name was, he passed away a couple of years ago. His name was Rabbi Victor Kurtzman. We were taking a course together one summer. And he tells me, he says, I'm a Lubavitcher Chassid, I'm not a follower of Shlomo Carlebach, but I have to tell you the story. And he says he keeps in touch with his students, even once they're adults. And there's this young man that got involved in the wrong crowd. Serious theft. They were stealing hubcaps and whatever was attached to the hubcap. Okay? Right? And like serious stuff. And in Los Angeles, if you have like just a simple little Mazda, you hide it. You don't drive in the streets in certain parts of Los Angeles with cars like that. It's a shame. He was stealing the expensive hubcaps. Okay. And he was a good boy. And he knew that he's not allowed to steal. And people were trying to help him stop, and he couldn't stop. It was like an addiction. Okay? And so he heard that Shlomo was in town one night, and that he's going to be giving a class, probably at Josh Ritchie's house. That's where he used to give classes. So he invited this young man to come, and maybe he wants to come for the evening and hear Shlomo. And Shlomo used to, before he would begin to sing or begin to teach, he would go around and embrace everybody, give everybody a hug and a kiss. And he comes to this young man whom he had never met. And he embraces him. And Rabbi Kurtzman is watching this. And all of a sudden Shlomo's saying to him, "What's going on, brother? What's going on, brother?" And Rabbi Kurtzman looks at Shlomo and he sees that Shlomo is crying. Shlomo started to cry. And he's saying, "What's going on, brother? What's going on, brother?" And he held him like that for a couple of minutes. Finally, he gave him a kiss on the forehead, and he wished him the best, and he went on to the next person. And this young man turns around to Rabbi Kurtzman, and he says, "Rabbi, I'm never going to steal again." And that was it. His career was over. No more hubcaps. Okay? What happened? Right? What happened? It was miraculous, but what was the miracle, right? The miracle was that Shlomo sensed the pain of this man's soul. This man didn't need to be told, "Don't steal." All he needed was another soul that would cry with his soul. Mm. And his soul was crying, okay? Now, Shlomo spoke about this very often. And, he used to visit the prisons over here too. And he would sing in the prisons. He would also visit prisons in the States. Okay? And I heard from the Chevra, sometimes murderers, people who were in prison for murder, would come up to him and ask him, "Can I have another hug?" And he would be crying. And once somebody said to this murderer, "Why do you want this?" He says, "If somebody would have hugged me like this when I was a kid, I wouldn't be here today." Okay. So when we speak about ga'ava hadadit, mutual pride, right? You know how important it is to tell somebody, "I'm proud of you"? To tell somebody that I'm proud of you. And the highest level is, like we were learning a couple of pages ago, to be able to tell them, "I'm proud of," like when a child is learning how to walk, "I'm proud of every step that you're making. Even though it's only one step, you still don't know how to walk, but I'm proud that you made this progress," right? And And what does it mean that I'm proud of you? So a lot of people don't take it quite right. They take it, they say that, oh, now you've done something that I think is good enough and I'm proud of you. Right? That's the way we usually understand it, right? You sat at the breakfast table and for a change you didn't spill the milk. I'm proud of you. Right? Okay? But it's deeper. It's got to be mutual pride. That's why that's the title over here, mutual pride. In other words, I feel enriched by your progress. And my being proud of you should be enriching to you too. So it's not just that, oh, I did something good and now you respect me a little bit more. Right? But that it's mutual, that you actually feel that you are actually sharing my pride and sharing your pride with me. That's the mutual thing about it. In other words, that both have grown, both have improved in some way.
You admire the other person.
You admire, but it's like, but you're also. It's not just because, like you're looking down at the person, or even just looking up at the person and feeling separate, but there's something being shared over here. Okay, something is being shared that I'm so proud of you. I feel enriched by what you're doing. It's not like, I'll be nice to you and I'll tell you that I'm proud of you. But that I'm actually proud means that my light has been increased by the increase in your light. Okay? What's the temple all about? As you shouldn't have told me, but now you're over here. Right? What happened when people came to the Beit HaMikdash, when people came to the temple? Right? And they met a decent Kohen, like the way a Kohen is supposed to be, right? So the person is coming and he's thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so messed up and I'm so this and I'm so that. I've done so many things that are wrong. And when they would come to the temple and they would bring their sacrifice, they would feel, you know what? My soul is still there. I still have a soul. I'm still alive. I still can be better. I still can improve. And I can turn things around. Right? And there's a verse in the Torah where Hashem says to the Kohanim, don't think that you're better than the person who's coming to bring the sin offering. Right? So coming, my friend Zev Macklin, he went the first time to 770. He came back and he was very, very impressed. Yeah, I just want you to know that there's no charge for this class, but if you want to give tzedakah, you're welcome to. Okay?
I'm sorry, I have to leave.
I know, you told me, but I just got to tell you this fast. He comes back to Montreal. I say, what impressed you so much? Now, this guy Zev, he lives in Yerushalayim now. He has 3 girls. He's like he was the top drummer in Montreal. He's like an amazing guy, and very psychic. Like, you don't have to tell him anything about you. He would sit at our Shabbos table. At the end of the meal, he'd look around the table and he'd go from person to person. I think there's a schedule on the little table over here, Rachel. So you're welcome to take it, okay? See. And if you're among the masochists of the community, there's a class at 7:30 in the morning also. On the right side of the table, do you see a schedule there? Is there? On the table itself? No? No? Okay. So send me an email, we'll send you, okay? Anyway, and he'd sit at the Shabbos meal, and at the end of the meal, he'd sort of go around the table and say one thing to every person, and everybody was like, how did you know? How did you know? Like, he'd give them blessings, right? But the blessings were precisely about what this person was needing at the time, okay? So he comes back from 770, and he says, so what impressed? And the Rebbe was already sick. But, he only saw the Rebbe for a second because they opened up the curtain. He says, do you realize that he's roped in real gangsters? He roped in, he managed to make real gangsters while they trigger. Okay? Huh?
Most of like Gaza from Russia.
Okay? Like, in other words, do you realize how holy you have to be able to get a gangster to turn around and become a righteous person? It's one thing, you go to somebody who's a decent person and you explain to him like Shabbos, mitzvahs, and so on. But to get somebody who was like really far away, to get them back, that's an amazing thing, right? Okay, so how do you do that? You don't do that by telling them how bad they are. They know how bad they are. They know what they've done. You do that by showing them how proud you are of the little bit of good that they still have. And that magnifies and makes the little bit of good go brighter and brighter and brighter. Absolutely. And this is the whole year of Breslev. That's the whole Nikud, that's the whole Torah of Reb Nachman of Nikud. That's so, and the first time I learned that Torah of Nikud of looking at the good point, it was at night back in Montreal, and I thought to myself, this is weird. Like, this is like, what's this, magic? Like, you have a remote control. Reb Nachman says, whatever you're looking at in the other person, if you're looking at the negative, you're making the negative vibrate. If you're looking at the positive begins to vibrate. It's as if you've got a remote control in your eyes, okay? And I said, this is ridiculous. But the very next day, I had the experience in school. This was not a religious school, and it was the end of the day, the last period of the day. My grade 10 class came down for a class. They were so mad because they just wrote a test in physics that the teacher had designed specifically to fail everybody. She was angry at them for some reason, and she gave them a test, and the marks counted. And she gave them a test that she knew everybody's going to fail. She was taking revenge. They were so mad. They came down to class and they were screaming. And I said, sit down. It's time for a lesson. Be quiet. Take your books out. They didn't even look at me. So I banged on the table even louder. And one kid turned around and looked at me like, are you some kind of idiot? Like, do you really think we're going to sit down and learn now? We're so angry. And so I turned around to the window, looked out the window, it was snowing, and I said, in my mind, these kids are really upset and they have good reason to be upset. And if they would have wanted to, they could have skipped school and nobody would have said anything. It was the last period of the day, it was grade 10, and they came to class. It's very nice of them that they came to class. And like Namish, I noticed it's quiet. I thought, did they all leave? And I turned around and I couldn't believe it. They were all in their seats, they had their books out, and we had a fantastic lesson. And I saw that it's totally true. You focus on the positive, you're putting the person into a positive space.
Yeah, the same.
In my mind, they said it, yeah. Okay, but what I'm trying to illustrate over here is that Gava Hadadit, mutual pride, right? It's not just like I'm looking down at the person and I'm saying, oh, I'm really proud of you that you didn't spill the milk, But to actually feel, yeah, I really am proud of you. I am enriched. I have more light now because I found the light inside you.
It has to be like real, not just
It has to be real, of course. Yeah, especially with kids. I mean, kids know when you're faking anyway. They know right away. And then they're just not interested in listening afterwards. Right? Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow, God willing. Okay. Thank you for coming.